Welcome to the Passionpreneur Experience, where I examine the thoughts, energy, and strategy a side hustler needs to grow their entrepreneurial dreams, all while they work their corporate 9-to-5 day job. I'm your host, Bridget Cobb. Now let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Passionpreneur Experience. And this week, I wanted to share a little bit of a journey that I've been going through for the past week and a bit around learning a new skill. Essentially, I know as we've been going through some of the lockdown stuff and, we're work from home and we're kind of in this new environment, there's been an ongoing debate I've heard back and forth around taking time to learn a new skill while we're in this, crazy time. In some cases, people are saying, don't stress yourself out with learning a new skill. You've got enough going on at home and you've got enough going on with this crazy environment that we're in, that the last thing you need to do is add a new skill. Where there are other people that they may have the extra bandwidth, and that's something that they're open to doing. It's really a personal choice for yourself. As for me, again, with this work from home environment, I've had a little bit more time to think about, new projects, new ways that I want to add value out in the marketplace and out for you guys. And that has led me to looking into developing a new skill. And this skill that I have been approaching is videos. So up until this point, I've been doing the podcast, which is great. I've had experience. Like I said, I used to podcast for my corporate job for a few years. So I'm pretty comfortable in this space, talking to the mic, set up in my little setup here with GarageBand, which is what I record the podcast on. I taught myself how to edit on there. And I've been, away and running now for a couple of years doing this. And it's very comfortable for me. With the thought of doing video, a whole new wave of insecurities came in because, one, I'm not used to speaking to the camera. Two, I don't know how to edit a video. I don't always do a perfect run here on the podcast. I do minimal editing, not a ton. I leave a lot of my ums and ahs in, as you guys might have noticed. But I do edit if I just totally fluff it and I need to start over or say a sentence again. So that's relatively easy to do when there's no visual involved. But now that I'm getting into movies and I started practicing and filming a podcast episode, which I'm still not sure. I'm not going to videotape every podcast episode because that's just too much. But I do want to start presenting more content in video. I immediately started to fall into and recognized right away some strong feelings that came up. And that's really what I want to talk about this episode is when you are taking on a new skill, when you decide to commit to learning something new, we all plunge back into novice state. And the first feelings that popped up for me as I sat down in front of iMovie, because I have a Mac, I'm trying to use all the free software I can. And so I sat down, opened up iMovie, and I immediately felt dumb. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what the buttons meant. I didn't know how to drag in content or really anything at all. From that feeling of feeling dumb or stupid or unintelligent came frustration as I tried to click around and just figure it out. Oh, maybe it's close to GarageBand. Maybe I can just figure this out on my own. Quickly then impatience rolled in. Why can't I get this? I should get this, I should be better at this by now. It's not intuitive to me, and that's really frustrating. And it was really interesting for me to watch this kind of roller coaster of emotion step in. And part of me in that split second said, do I really need to do video? Is that something I actually need to do? Why was I doing this in the first place? I'm not sure video is really going to be important to my message or to the value that I need to put out there. It was like in that I let that tornado of frustration, lack of confidence, impatience kind of bubble up and completely push the idea out of my mind, all within the frame of probably a couple of hours that I had dedicated to sitting down and looking at the software for the first time. And I think the important thing is, what do you do from that standpoint? Because now you're at a crossroads. Do you quit and say, never mind, I am never touching video, that's never going to be a part of my plan, or I will when I can hire someone to do everything for me? Or do I take a deep breath and say, I'm going for it. I'm going forward. Let me remember how I learned, because maybe it's been a while since I sat down and learned something new. And actually, I've had a couple of experiences lately that have helped me in this process of learning and starting from scratch and being a complete newbie. That I've talked about doing this new curly hair, curly girl treatment thing that I've been doing, where I've watched a ridiculous amount of videos and read articles and tried to get skilled up on the lingo. I thought, okay, I'm going to do the same thing here for iMovie. And so I had to sit there, take a deep breath, and realize that this is not impossible. It's not impossible. It may feel impossible right now. It is not impossible. I just don't know how to do it yet. Impossible, though, is a word that comes up so frequently for us. It's such a dismissive word. It's just, don't put any effort in. It will never happen. Better to cut your losses now and walk away. And so I immediately started thinking, I've got to control that word impossible for one. It's not impossible. I will learn. I will master this even. I can master this. I'm 100% confident in that. But in the meantime, until I'm a master of video editing, what else can I do to help me continue to walk forward and move forward? And so I wanted to go through some of the tactics that I took, some of the ideas that came to mind, and how I just got the ball rolling again, because you get to this mental point where you just want to quit and walk away, take the laptop, chuck it over the balcony, and kind of say, okay, enough is enough. I'm done with that now. Let's never think of videos again. Instead, you can try some of these options. So the first one is ask questions. I immediately jumped into a couple of podcast groups that I'm a part of, forums, Facebook groups, those types of things, and started to ask questions. One question that I asked is, who does a podcast in both audio only and video format? Can you talk me through some of the pros and cons? And got a thread going. And a lot of people jumped in with their thoughts, with their software ideas, with great shortcuts to keep your sanity and not overwork you. And that kind of helped me kind of get into conversation. I got into conversation with a couple of different people that really kind of helped me level set my expectations. The next thing I did was watch videos. So I jumped onto YouTube, which is where I'm going to post these videos, and started looking at examples. So what are some of the videos I like to watch? How are they edited? What do they look like? I also went on and found iMovie tutorials, and I watched a ton of those. Short clippets, very basic, almost like how do you turn it on and what do you do next? And that was fantastic, just to give me the bare bones basics in order to even load the content in to start looking at it. And those were small victories. Every time I did something, there was a little moment of victory. Figured that out. I don't have to look that up anymore. That's another step that I can do without ever having to look it up again. Totally got that step. And before I knew it, I was practicing and going in, and I could get a good 5, 10, 15 steps in before I had to look up something else. Next was trial and error. So literally just clicking around. I filmed myself doing a podcast like this. In fact, last episode, I filmed it. And then I had an entire episode taped, loaded that in, and I just started playing with it, chopping, changing, trying to take out stuff mid-sentence and still have it run and make it look right. Complete trial and error, and I could always just reload it and start again. So there was no fear about ruining something or working on an actual project. I recorded it specifically looking 100% grungy and unprepared to film, so that I knew I'm never going to use this film footage anyway. This is purely for practice. Another tactic I took was talking it out. And that I would, when my partner would come into the kitchen, I'm working here on the dining room table. That's our setup. And I would say, I can't figure this out. And I just start talking it out, talking out what I was doing, talking out why I wanted to do it. And it was helpful to have someone to kind of bounce that off of. And even though he's not that familiar with the software either, he is pretty technically inclined, so he might throw out a couple of suggestions. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And that really helped me troubleshoot and also go back to trial and error, which I did. Or take some of his concepts, plug it into YouTube, and see if there was a video about it. I think at the end of the day, guys, what I really decided to do was just move forward with the very small information that I had and do it. Do it to the best of my ability. So, for instance, I actually started the YouTube channel. It is live. You can find me at, I guess you just look up Bridget Cobb Coaching. And I'm starting to load up all of the podcast episodes with just a still image. So there's no video. It is just the podcast as you've listened to it. It has a still video attached to it. But I'm loading it all up so that there's content there. So when I do put other videos up, they're not so lonely. And I'll be loading the each podcast up each week now to the YouTube station as well, or channel. And I am doing the most I can with what I've learned in, let's say, probably 48 hours is really what I've dedicated so far to learning this software. And I'm pretty happy with it. It's not production quality. It's not professional grade by any means, but it's what I know how to do. And if there's anything I love, it's being a long-time consumer of someone's content. So, let's say there's someone I've been listening to for a couple of years, and I can actually follow their progression. I can see how they've grown and what they've learned from the time that they were self-producing, let's say, figuring things out, working a bit more smaller scale, and how they grew, and then maybe they went into professional grade. Maybe they started hiring professionals or whatnot. But I love to see that progression, and I feel like, I've kind of grown along with them. So that's where I am. I'm starting with what I know. I am taking steps to move forward. I'm building the YouTube channel. And I'm learning along the way. And so I want to encourage you, if there's something that you've been wanting to learn, if there's something that you've wanted to challenge yourself with, maybe a concept that you want to grow around, the first thing I would encourage you to do is take a deep breath and acknowledge if you're having any doubts, if you are feeling insecure, unconfident, if whatever that is, go ahead and acknowledge it and go, yep, this is what it feels like. That's okay. I feel these things. Now what am I going to do? Because I can still take steps even with those feelings. Totally possible that I could do both of those at the same time. Feel insecure and feel impatient and frustrated, and watch YouTube videos to learn how to do the very basics of the thing that I want to do. I can do both at the same time. And little by little, as you learn just a baby step skill and you can go in and implement, that's a moment to stop and celebrate and say, okay, I used to know nothing about this, like nothing, and now I can load it. I can load content. I couldn't do that 24 hours ago because I hadn't even seen the inside of the software. But now I can. And I've just done it like 24 times in a row, guys, because I've been doing all the podcast episodes to catch me up. That's a heck of a lot of practice in a row. Leaves me very confident now with doing pretty much the bare basics in iMovie. And I know that that's going to serve me as I start to get in and do more complicated shoots where I am doing a little bit more teaching or something like that. So this has been a great experience for me. I busted this out, all this work over one weekend, and I really enjoyed having that concentrated time to dedicate it to it, and that repetitiveness that I was able to get in and repeat some of these actions again and again, because it really feels ingrained in my head now. But again, the most important thing I feel is moving forward while feeling unsure. I think that is the key to progress. That is the key, I think, to growth, is embracing that frustration and embracing the impatience and saying, it's okay. It's normal to feel that way. And I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to keep going with what I've got, what I have to work with right now. So I wanted to just fill you guys in on what I've been working on this week. Also want to say, please go check out the YouTube channel. I am very excited about it. There'll be a link to it in the show notes, of course, so you can jump in there and check it out. But I'd love to hear, a comment. You can comment on the videos. Again, they're just the podcast episodes, but you can comment, you can share, and you can like, and all that really helps me build the YouTube channel. So really appreciate you guys following along with me, and I'd love to hear from you as well if you're starting a new project or if you're building a new skill set, and that's something that you've been focusing on for the past couple weeks, or you've got your eye on the prize of a new skill set coming up here in the next month. I'd love to hear about it. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Passionpreneur Experience. I'll see you here next time. Bye. Are you building your side hustle business all on your own? Well, you don't have to. Engaging with and being accountable to a supportive community will increase your productivity and keep you on track. Join my private Facebook community, the Passionpreneur Experience, and connect with like-minded side hustlers just like you. Head to the show notes now for a link to the group and start building the business of your dreams.